Hello, and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. If this is your first time here, the We Are Power podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As We Are Power is the umbrella brand to Northern Power Women Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and We Are Power. Well, hello. Welcome to the podcast. This week, I am delighted to be joined by a repeat guest, Steph Edusei, winner of the Transformational Leader Award back in 2022 and Northern Power Women Awards Game Changer Power Lister from this year. Welcome back. Welcome to our new Desiree.
I know. I think last time it was all kind of online, wasn't it?
It was always, wasn't it? Yeah. So what's happening? What's been like? Oh, author now, I understand.
Yes.
Nothing stands still with you, does it?
Well, people have said to me for quite a long time, oh, you really should write a book. It'd be really interesting to hear. And
so then you got it right.
Yeah, but I did, if I'm honest, I tried a while ago and kind of just didn't. It gave up. And then was listening to Sophie Millican's podcast, actually Beyond the Bio. And she had a guest who said their first book was a little book of. And I went, oh, I could write a little book. So that's what I've done. I've done a little book of leadership lessons. It's coming out very soon. And it's basically just drawing on my decades now in leadership and giving stories from my life and saying, and this is what I've learned, and it might be useful for other people as well. So
it's passing on that skills and knowledge, isn't it? So before we dive into the book, but I remember when, you must go back, if you haven't, go back and listen to the pod that we recorded in 2022, because we talked a lot about imposter syndrome. We talked a lot about just how sort of you and you're still driving on the Black All Year podcast, which is amazing and is growing and everything that there is around that, which is brilliant. But one of the things I love was we talked about your bio, chief exec, non-exec director, dance teacher, wannabe ballerina.
Yeah.
How's the ballerina bit going?
Well, I'm still teaching.
Oh, well, there we
and
go.
I'm still dancing, but I'm a few years older and the knees aren't quite as good as they used to be. And I've put on a little bit of weight. So, when you're on point and you feel the weight, but yeah, still love ballet. Still love teaching the kids. It's an absolute joy. I just love it. I get so much back from doing that and from them. And just have such a laugh with my colleagues as well. It's really nice when you've got a responsible role to have something where I go in, I don't need to worry about the insurance and I don't need to worry about the building upkeep. I just need to think about those kids and how I can get the best out of them and enjoying myself. And it's a really nice change from what I do the rest of my life. So,
and you're the chief exec of the wonderful St Oswald's Hospice, which are 20 plus, is it 20 plus shops?
We have 25 shops and counting. We're hoping maybe to have a couple more by the end of the financial year. So, and a really good thriving online business as well. So it's that combination of running a hospice and then having this. I kind of joke that I'm probably one of the Northeast, or certainly Tyne & Wear's biggest retailers, beaten maybe by Greggs. I think they're probably the only one that has more stores than we do. So yeah, I'm coming after Greggs.
Yeah, but Greggs isn't on eBay, is it?
It's
you
not,
are, right?
No. So, and it's an absolute joy. I mean, St Oswald's is my, when you go somewhere and it's like, I've come home. That's what it feels like being
Tell
at
us
St.
about
Oswald's.
it. Tell about the work that St Oswald's
So St Oswald's Hospice is a large children's and adults hospice. We this year have got a budget of about 17 million. And we have inpatient beds. We have a busy, bustling day services. We provide a lymphedema service across the region. And then we've got children's. And children's, fortunately, is mainly respite care rather than end of life. And we say children's, it's children's and young adults. It goes 0 to 25. But it's been around for nearly 40 years, so 40th anniversary next year. I've just celebrated my 5th anniversary there. And the time's just flown by. So I started in the middle of the first lockdown, and it's just been, like I say, an absolute joy to be a part of such a brilliant organisation that cares so much about people, and not just the people that come to us for support. We care about each other. And it's really creative and innovative and just fun. I laugh so much in that job, which for a hospice, people think, oh, it must be really sad. You get kind of like people go, you say you work in a hospice and they go, oh, that must be so hard. And I feel really bad saying, well, no, actually, it's just amazing. It's an amazing place to be.
What are you most proud of the work that you do and drive and the teams you lead?
I think I'm not going to claim credit for this because it was there before I started, but the fact that we've been able to maintain that absolute focus on our patients and service users, everything we do is for them. And having worked in the NHS in the past, where unfortunately that's not always the case, but being able to maintain that through all of the last 5 years and the ups and downs and everything that's gone on, I think is probably pretty key. But we've got a really exciting new strategy, which is about us moving more into communities, reaching more people than we've ever done before, and making sure that everybody gets more and better access to palliative and end-of-life care, because we know a lot of people don't, and there's so many barriers in the way. So really having, for me, my personal achievement is being able to get that strategy out there and seeing it land with people from within the hospice and the wider health and care community. And people are going, yeah, absolutely, that's what we need. So that's kind of been a real kind of, oh, right, I was right. This was the right thing to do. And we're into year 2 now and really start to see things powering and moving. And people are starting to come to us and say, can you do this? Can you do that? So we're now in the, right, we just need to take one step at a time now, but it's exciting.
So this is after winning Transformational Leader in 2022, you continue to transform.
Yeah.
And this is what makes leaders great leaders, is you don't just lead for a period of time or in sections. It's innovation, isn't it? It's innovation. How would you describe your leadership style?
I try to be really collaborative, and that's challenging. It's sometimes a lot. You just sit there and you just kind of go, I want to tell you the answer because I know, and you can't do that. And you also sometimes want to say, just do it, but that doesn't work. It can take longer doing things collaboratively, but actually I know we'll get to a better outcome if we do that. So we may not get to a vastly different place, but it'll be a place that everybody wants to go to, and therefore the way in which it's delivered will be a lot better. I like to kind of be a very trusting leader. I'm not a micromanager, and that's partly because of my own personal thing that I'm not an attention to detail person, but I actually trust people.
Yeah.
I work with some amazing individuals, and they know far more about their subject area than I do. So me micromanaging them doesn't make sense. It's about agreeing what's the outcomes that we want and then trusting them to get on with it and saying, what do you need from me in the organisation to help you to get there? What kind of environment do you need? And for me, that's what leadership is. Leadership is all about creating that environment so that people can just go, right, here I go, and really go for it and excel. Because if you're in the wrong environment, it's that thing of, you put a plant in the wrong environment and it'll wither and die. I want all of our people to be in absolutely the right soil and have the right nutrients so that they can just flourish. And when you see that happening, it's great, and it makes my life easy.
Yeah. And who do you go to for guidance? Because when you're at the top, and we talked at the start about your other roles and other side hustles, but being a chair, being non-exec, it's leadership. But who do you go to for guidance?
I've got a really lovely family for a start. My mum, especially. I mean, my mum's
Northern Power mum.
Yeah, she's just amazing. And I can really talk to her. My other half, Rob, he's in leadership himself. So we do have we kind of finish the day and we do a kind of half hour of, and then it's and help each other out with any challenges that we've got. But I have coaches. I go to other chief execs. So across the hospices in our region, we've got a really good network of the chief execs, and we gather together regularly, and it's part kind of planning and sharing and part therapy session. So I think it's about having people that you trust around you that you can kind of have those conversations with. But also my leadership team, we're a really good, solid team, very, very different individuals in the team. And that's to be really celebrated, that we do have that difference and that we will challenge each other. But we're also really supportive of each other as well. And I'll get people say, oh, so-and-so's just a bit low at the minute. You might want to keep an eye on them. And it's really nice that we've got that as well.
So at what point did you think, right, you were listening to Sophie Milliken's fabulous podcast that she does, and you went, I'm going to do this. I'm going to all in. Would you start even by writing a book? Go on one of Sophie's retreats is probably what Sophie would say.
Sophie would say. Well, for me, once I decided to do it, it was relatively easy for me to write because it had kind of written itself in my head over the past 10 years. And I kind of went, okay, so if I was going to do a little book, what would the little book be of? And I thought, well, it's got to be leadership lessons because one of the things that I've realized, particularly over the last decade, is that I have learned a lot and I've been through a lot and experienced some real highs, but some real lows in my career. And I've been able to look back and reflect. I'm a real reflector, and I've been able to reflect on them and go, okay, so what was that actually about? And what have I learned from that? Sometimes I've had to make the same mistake a number of times. And then I've gone, oh, right, okay, yeah, remember you learned that the first time and then forgot it. So it was almost the hardest thing was me deciding what I was going to leave out because I wanted it to be a little book. It is 10 lessons that I've learned and really thinking, well, these are the ones that are applicable to new leaders and to established leaders. These are the ones where I think actually the story of my experience is relevant and interesting. But I also wanted it to be a little book in lots of ways. I don't want it to be a book that's a real burden to read. I've mentioned to some people about, you get a book and it's a great big thick tome and instantly it puts me off.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. And I haven't got time to be reading that. I haven't got time to be watching TV series with 24 episodes in each series. That's too much commitment. So I wanted a little book and I wanted something where you could read a chapter, sorry about this, on the loo. It's, you know what I mean? It's that, if any of us that have had kids, it's that if you manage to grab the time, that's what I used to do all the time. I used to have the health service journal, which was a trade magazine when I was in the health service. And I used to have that next to the toilet and I used to read it every week. On the loo.
Was it your safe space?
It was. It was kind of like, right, I've got time to do. So
the loo is for you.
But it's that type that I wanted like a 10-minute chapter that people
bite size, isn't it?
And actually, you don't even have to read it front to back. You can kind of go, right, oh, there's a chapter there on imposter phenomena. I want to read that.
Yeah.
And be able to just dip in and read it and for it to be self-contained. So, no stress, no additional burdens for people, just something that will help, hopefully, and be interesting.
And it's interesting when you talk about often the learning is about the mistakes that you make along the way. What is if you can share the biggest maybe leadership mistake you've made on the way?
Oh,
and sometimes
to narrow it down.
Sometimes it's also not just the mistake; it's how you get back from it, how you get back on track.
Yeah, there's probably a couple, but the one that this is one that I have made at least twice, and that's about excluding voices. Yeah. So when I was quite a junior manager, I did it twice. And it was normally me being heavily influenced by other people and their opinions of people. And or that person was just difficult to work with or whatever. And I didn't exclude them completely, but I sidelined them. And what we did was we ended up getting to the right place, but it was probably not as good as it could have been, or we had to do a lot of remedial actions to get there. And actually, in one of those cases, the person that I sidelined was a lovely person, a really genuinely lovely person. And it still sits with me a little bit that I might have hurt them because they weren't as included as they should have been in the work that we were doing. So I do regret that. So now, like I say, even though it can be really, really torturous sometimes, and it can be really personally and professionally challenging to get different voices in there, I know the value of doing that, and that sometimes people can really stop you from going completely the wrong way because you've had them in the room and they've said that really difficult thing to hear, but you've needed to hear it. So that's probably the biggest one that I would say is, it's really tempting and really easy to go, oh, well, we'll just not bother including that because they're going to say something or behave in a way that I don't want them to behave. So we'll just get all of the kind of happy, supportive, cheerleadery people. Yeah. Absolutely the wrong thing to do. Absolutely.
And what's the bit of advice that you find you always pass on? You know, when you get asked, what advice would you give to your younger self, your boisterous self? I think I heard you talk about on another podcast.
There's two, but they're connected. So the first one is that you are enough. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. You could be, you could be chief exec of Microsoft, or you could be somebody who is homeless. You are still enough, and you as you are absolutely enough. And I wish more people believe that, and particularly more women believe that. Connected to that, and particularly for professionals, is you need to be really careful about the table that you sit at. And it is actually a chapter, not every table feeds you. And I've had experiences where I've been asked to sit at a table and I've been really flattered, but I'm just like, wow, they want me to be involved. This is great. And actually, it has been personally very damaging.
Wow.
The reasons that I've been asked to sit there have maybe not been what I thought they were, or not what I heard they were. Because that's the other thing. When somebody asks you, you kind of go, oh, and you don't hear necessarily what people are saying. But also, I think that people aren't necessarily prepared for what you bring to that table. So really be careful about where you choose to sit and the tables you choose to sit at. Wow. And don't believe this thing of, oh, well, there's not many places at tables. That's what people want you to believe. They want, particularly again, women, people of colour, to believe that there are very few places at the table. Absolutely not.
Don't be grateful.
Well, it's that you need to be.
And here.
And people become very protective when they think that there's a limited number of places at the table. Your job, once you're sitting there, is to make sure there's plenty of space for the other people to join. And that so don't believe that scarcity, but be really picky about the tables you choose to sit at.
Wow, I love that. And I have seen at the start, we said, since we first met at the awards and various power circles, various events we've been at, we were both we're not grateful. We are enabled to be part of the inaugural Northern Leaders list, which we're going to an event later on tonight, aren't we? I know this will come out after this is aired, but it's all good. What did that feel like to get that recognition? Because you are very accomplished and I see you getting lots of recognition. Does that sit comfortably with you?
It's always a surprise. It probably sits better now than it used to, because I used to really struggle with accepting praise. I still do with certain types of praise, but that's not because I don't believe it's true. I don't want people to think I'm better than them, because I'm not. I'm the same as everybody else. I just do things in a certain way that lands well with certain people. So I don't want to get praise because people are doing themselves down. But it used to be really, really difficult for me, and I used to dismiss it. I used to do, oh, that's a mistake, or it's because they don't know about. So now when something like the Northern Leaders, which did come as a complete surprise kind of out of the blue, was really, really lovely. I do have moments still amongst business communities where I go, oh, am I supposed to be here? And then I remind myself I run a large multi-million-pound organisation with 25 shops and everything. That's a heck of a business to be running. So yeah, I absolutely do deserve to be in those rooms. And but that's taken a lot of work for me to get to the place where I'm comfortable with it. But always recognise that that's because I've got a profile that I've got. And that there'll be other people who don't have that profile and are doing absolutely fantastic work and are deserving of similar accolades.
And you're very much someone who likes to give back, whether it's through your dance teaching and making a difference to the next gen or just giving back. But by setting up, I think when we first chatted, you were right at the start of setting up Black All Year. Yeah. What have you learnt most from that? And tell us about it and what have you learnt most?
Yeah, so Black All Year it's been a little bit, I'm going to use the term journey. It has been a little bit of a journey. In that originally it was all about having live events that people could join online. So we'd do an hour normally over a lunchtime, have a guest talking about topics that were relevant about the Black experience. And it was kind of a bit of a mixed audience. And I kind of thought, I need to think who my audience is. And then I grew really comfortable with having that mixed audience. So what I have is an audience of people from the Black and ethnically minoritized community who are learning stuff, but who are also saying, yes, that's me, that's my experience. And I'm really grateful to have their experiences aired. But also, and I think equally as valuable, if not more valuable, are people from kind of the white community and organisations who have said to me, this has been really useful. I bumped into a chief exec of a hospice at a conference last year, and he came over and he said, you're Steph, aren't you? And I went, yeah. And he said, my team and I listened to the Black All Year podcast and we have learned so much. Thank you so much for producing it. And that makes it all worthwhile, knowing that even if just one person has learned something and will change their practice and their behaviour because of it, that's all I ever wanted, was for people to go, oh, right, I didn't know that and I understand more now. And as a result of knowing that, I'm going to do something differently.
And what would you say is your superpower?
Oh, my superpower. Optimism, I think, especially in today's climate. I think it has to be, I could have said energy, but actually I get tired just like everybody else. And I am very mindful of when I need to rest and things like that. But yeah, I think optimism, because no matter how bleak it gets, there's something in me goes, but I can do something about this. It can get better. We can change this. So yeah, I have had, especially like I say, recently I've had quite a few moments where I've gone, why am I bothering? Why am I doing this?
I was at an event last week, a female founders event, and there was the question is who feels optimistic? And I always, like yourself, optimistic. I couldn't put my hand up. And I think it was, and I actually said, I'm caveating this. This is a small wobble and probably the first wobble I've had in 10 years, but it's a wobble. But normally I'm like the one at the first in class, hand straight up. How do you get yourself back on track? I was fueled by a room full of female founders that, I could caveat to go, it's not going to last, this will pass. But it is tough out there.
It is. And I think for me, there's something about, so during the whole Black All Year kind of pushback in kind of 2020, 2021, last summer with the riots in the UK in particular, that was really personally very challenging and terrifying. The riots last year were this most scared I've been that I can remember. And I think there's something for me about knowing that when that optimism drops for me, it's not that it's gone. I just need a break. And there's something about knowing that I can step back and that others will step in to fill the void. I don't have to be the one that fights every battle and every cause. So I know that there are a lot of people who are activists who will step forward, and I've said it to other women. I've said, look, take a break, sister. It's all right.
Yeah.
Just take a break.
It's okay.
We're here. We've got this. And when you're ready, come back. And that trust that I can do that as well. And then I take, normally it's about 3 hours actually. I'll go, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. And then I go, all right, I'm ready again. Because the optimism, when I know I don't have to, and kind of get over myself as well. The weight of the world is not, it's kind of sitting in my hand to change. So once I've done that and said it's okay, I don't have to, I can let other people do this, that kind of weight is lifted, and I find that the optimism then comes back. Or if not the optimism, the fight comes back.
The power.
Yeah.
Steph Edusei, power woman, Northern Power Woman, Northern leader, author, very excited about coming on the book tour. There's going to be one, right? There has to be one. Steph, thank you so much for coming across and chatting with me today. It's been too long, and I look forward to seeing you a few hours in Newcastle.
Lovely.
Thank you, Steph. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. We are power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter. Or We Are Power on LinkedIn, Facebook. And We Are _power on YouTube.